Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Cycle 5858. I am Amish Cycle. Following news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
On Disney Plus, most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night. Tonight's breaking news, the emergency playing out. Multiple people rushed to the hospital, hundreds forced to evacuate. The images tonight, the dangerous toxic leak. Alarming video showing a thick cloud blanketing a hotel parking lot. Ammonia leaking from a tanker truck. 36 people rushed to the hospital. At least 11 tonight in critical condition, and what we know so far. Also tonight, a beloved football coach and athletic director shot near the football field. Sources say gunfire erupting on a college campus. Images tonight of students sheltering in place. And what we're learning about the coach's condition at this hour. Tonight, growing pressure involving the Jeffrey Epstein files. President Trump pressed today after all of these emails now made public, some of them referencing Trump himself. He was asked why he won't allow the FBI to make the Epstein files public after he suggested he would do so during the campaign. Tonight, there is news on these emails, Epstein calling Trump dangerous, and what else the convicted sex offender said about Donald Trump. The longest government shutdown in U.S. history now over tonight. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers now back on the job. The Homeland Security Secretary handing out bonuses to TSA agents in Houston. And tonight the question, will all TSA agents get that bonus check? And flights in this country, how long will it take? Another 1,000 flights still canceled today. The fallout continues from the shutdown. Tonight, the scary moments from Ariana Grande, a man leaping over a barricade, rushing at her. Co-star Cynthia Erivo jumping in to protect her. It comes after that alarming moment with singer Billie Eilish. What's going on? Tonight, the Major League Baseball scandal, the all-star pitcher accused of pitching into the dirt to help gamblers with their bets. The dramatic rescue, you'll see it here, the man dangling hundreds of feet up on the side of a cliff. His parachute strings keeping him alive for hours. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman falling, rushed to the hospital. What we know tonight. This evening in the Northeast, the largest great white shark ever tagged, where it was just spotted. The wave of artificial intelligence tonight, the debut of this humanoid robot, but just seconds in, falling flat on its face, where this played out. Also tonight here, a personal note at ABC News, tributes tonight for a longtime member of our ABC News family. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York. Mob of female autograph seekers. Good evening, everyone. JFK's grandson, Jack Schlossberg, is looking to win the seat held by retiring Democrat Jerry Nadler. I think we have a picture of the seat. Good luck getting Nadler off that thing. Donald Trump announced that Veterans Day will also be known as Victory Day. He then said Groundhog Day will also be called Day of Mourning for that thing on Maxine Waters' head. This week was the start of the 35th Annual Housekeeping Olympics in Las Vegas. Doug Emhoff is judging the competition. He's going to see who can make a bed the quickest before his wife gets home. He actually banged a nanny. It wasn't really a maid, but we'll just leave it there. Zoran Mamdani plans to spend $1 billion to replace cops on subways with social workers. He says most of that money will be used to pay for these social workers' funerals. Because they're going to be murdered on the subway. President Trump defended his plan to bring in hundreds of thousands of Chinese students, saying, I know what MAGA wants. And that's a great college ping pong team. Amy Schumer, the comedian, has removed all of her photos of when she was fat from social media, leading to accusations that she's racist against black men. best joke you're going to hear today. Yeah. It's the best joke you're going to hear today. All right, and finally, residents of Prince Andrew Road in England are urging officials to change the street name due to the embarrassing association. However, I'm not sure if the new name is going to be much better. Yeah. All right, this is a great story. So a black lesbian walks into a town hall and asks a liberal congressional candidate to define what a woman is. And get this, her name is Hyman, and his name is Wiener. Sounds like I wrote this, but I didn't. Talk about destiny. But the congressional candidate, Scott Wiener, who's running for Nancy Pelosi's seat, gave an answer that would make Ketanji Brown Jackson sound smart.
As a lesbian woman who was attacked in a woman's locker room at Gold's Gym this week by a self-identifying trans woman with a documented history of domestic violence, I'm
Tonight, the dangerous and chaotic scene, toxic gas leaking from a tanker truck, sickening dozens in Oklahoma, people fighting for their lives, unable to breathe, hundreds evacuated from their homes. The toxic gas spewing from a truck, blanketing cars in a massive cloud of dangerous chemicals, dozens hospitalized, some critically. Hundreds huddling in shelters for safety. Emergency responders to the scene in gas masks. First on NBC, the family of the accuser mentioned in the newly released Epstein emails. Speaking out, did she ever discuss spending time with President Trump? Senator John Fetterman hospitalized after a fall. The condition he suffered from, usually fatal. What we know, the government is open, but when will things return to normal? Flight cuts still snarling travel. Plus, when will federal workers finally get paid? A man died just hours after eating a hamburger. The first reported death connected to a tick-induced meat allergy that's becoming increasingly common. The new warning tonight. Our series, The Cost of Denial. The former insurance executive fighting the insurance company for rising premiums. Then front in this race. What he's just did today that it's never done before. And a highway shut down over a hog, the wild food chase to catch that pig. And there's good news tonight. The emotional surprise for a young farmer who jumped out after floods. Down the most. The news. Bad news hour. The U.S. attorney who brought charges against Homie and Lipsa James faces her own scrutiny over whether she was unlawfully appointed to her post.
More local law enforcement sign up to help with the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. We speak with one sheriff about the partnership.
And a small upstate New York community fights an uphill battle for justice after finding high levels of forever chemicals in drinking water.
The entire community was drinking water that was highly contaminated with a toxic chemical that industry had known was dangerous for decades.
Major funding for the PBS NewsHour has been provided by
Business Doors of Father's historic jazz club with a son. Raymond James Financial Advisor. Get to know you, your passions, and the way you bring people together. Life well planned.
and friends of the NewsHour, including Robert S. Kaplan and Wendy J. Selden through the Raymond James Charitable Endowment Fund.
That future, it's out there waiting. And so is everything between now and then. For almost 150 years, One America Financial has believed a kind of certainty that supports the journey every step of the way.
I love seeing interns succeed. I love seeing them come back and join engagement teams and seeing where they go from there. I get to watch their personal growth. It makes my heart happy.
And with the ongoing support of these individuals and institutions. This program was made possible by the contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you.
On this Thursday night, the Prime Minister's ambitious plan to build. He's unveiled.
Full potential as an energy superpower.
What did not make cut, and the reaction. Here's top. Repatriate decades.
Be buried or like that or like crying.
Journey for a little girl who Good evening and thanks for joining us. 6 more projects have been announced that the Prime Minister will make Canada stronger and more self-sufficient and will, he says, establish the country as a clean energy superpower. The so-called nation-building projects include an Inuit-owned hydroelectricity project in Nunavut, 3 critical mineral mines in New Brunswick, Quebec, and Ontario. In northern BC, a liquefied natural gas and the North Transmission will in TC.
The minister is speaking. This the way from my goals is echo future. This go, but already many of its regulatory hurdles. The major project office now looking to fast the final begin terminal. The Liberal government plan to build involves clean energy. Announcing a $140 million loan to be so to push development of a new North Coast transmission line. A line the Premier has said is essential to expanding the province's power grid. Also on the table, a hydro project in Iqaluit designed to reduce the community's reliance on diesel generators. 3 mining projects are also on the list: Crawford Nickel in Ontario,
And so we must change our strategy dramatically. And we're doing that by drawing on our legacy. Our legacy.
This major projects list is evolving, the Prime Minister promising more announcements will be made in the months to come. What is not on this list? Any talk of an oil pipeline from Alberta to tidal waters. Donna?
Okay, Aaron MacArthur in Terrace, BC, thanks. The Prime Minister promised his government would build big and build fast, and he said made projects office to help do that. The CEO office was also in Terrace, BC today. Our chief political correspondent, David Aiken, is with me now. David, the Prime Minister deferred to her at times to answer questions about the point of her office.
That's right, Donna. Her name is Dawn Farrell, and both she and the PM tried to make the case that the Major Projects Office can help the 11 projects now on its docket, even though most of them are already years into the planning and approvals process. Take the Crawford Nickel Mine, just north of Timmins, Ontario. It's new today to this major projects list, and it is more than 3 years already into the regulatory process to develop this site. And the federal impact agency will not get to its work until March at least. And that assessment will take more than a year. But it's only after all that is done that Canada Nickel can begin to start the long process of the various building and environmental permits that it will need to build a mine it hopes will produce thousands of tons of nickel every day for the next 41 years.
So for projects like Crawford, we're working to come up with processes where we can run all the permitting in parallel so that we're not doing it sequentially. So something that might have taken 5 or 6 more years can now take 2 years.
Another project to this list is existing graphite mine northeast of Montreal. The proponent here, Nouveau Monde Graphite, is looking for what amounts to federal commitment.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Trump signed a bill to fund the government through the end of January, bringing an end to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. His signature hours after the House of Representatives moved the spending package largely along party lines, and 43 days after the shutdown furloughed hundreds of thousands of workers. Caused inflation of flights and froze SNAP food stamps for 1 out of every 8 people across the United States. Ahead of the House vote, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries rallied Democratic lawmakers and promised to fostering health care costs, which are set to spiral even higher under the Republican spending bill.
Now, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency.
Members of the Democratic caucus joined Republicans to approve the legislation Monday, even though the bill did not. Meanwhile, there's growing backlash over vision of the spending bill that would allow 8 Republican senators to personally sue the government for up to Maryland. Corruptions for political self-dealing, the funder of resource ever proposed, unquote. On Wednesday, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson was shocked and angry after he learned of the process of vote next week. So, opposite days, her seat after all provided the final signature on a petition people is not obstructed my swearing in by canceling vote after vote, and the petition signature.
President Trump isn't talking about it, but Jeffrey Epstein is. In questions about the relationship between the president and the convicted sex offender. Is there a link between ultra-processed food and a high risk of colon cancer? Dr. Celine Gounder has the results of a new study.
Nothing's impossible. And a young man with a dream and a mentor who helped make it come true. I noticed his passion. I noticed his drive. This kid was serious.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS.
cross-channel people smuggling gangs taking migrants from London to Calais.
You can see that boat is completely overloaded. There's still the people running out.
Mission to Mars, launched by the man from Amazon, Jeff Bezos' rocket company, blasts into space. Alex Horsey will be seeing what's making headlines these days. Plus for you with Politico's Bethany Dawson. Hello, really good to be with you this morning. We'll be
At least 16 schools closed and others partially shut because of potential asbestos from coloured sand. The former partner of Molly Ticehurst pleads guilty to murdering the childcare worker in New South Wales last year. Mexican prosecutors seek 200-year jail sentences for the men accused of murdering two Australian brothers. And Blue Origin launches its biggest rocket with a pair of NASA spacecraft destined for Mars. Hello,
Asia Now.
Hong Kong, New Delhi, Jakarta, at this hour. Japanese Sana'ichi's remarks on Taiwan's subterfuge with China. Beijing issues a warning and summons Tokyo's ambassador. Results are expected soon from the election in India's state. The polls show Minister Narendra Modi's party in the lead, but the opposition is not ready to concede just yet. Malaysian economy is fast.
with people soap made by young people who opted to stay instead of fleeing the war.
Yeah, exactly. It's my people. It's people.
Africa News. The news.
They clung both hands for hours for the residents of their community. For the Sudanese people here, this is their only meal of the day, lentil soup. Made by young people who opted to stay instead of fleeing the war. Risking their lives, they manage soup kitchens.
Because my people here is me exactly. This is my people, Sudanese people. In this area, this is my dad, and this is my mother, and this is my sister, and this is my brother, this is my uncle. We need to help my brother.
One of Dean's friends was among the volunteers who were killed by militias while purchasing food for their neighborhood.
And in this area, we have 4 volunteers who died. Yeah.
This cold aid station is operated by volunteers. They supply medicine to the many elderly. Over 120,000 people fear dead, over
million people displaced. Sudan's crisis is the worst.
Using in an effort to force an end to his 2-week-long hunger strike. Ben Barrett's lawyer says he saw evidence that he'd been tortured and attacked, including fractures and bruises all over his body. He's reportedly maintaining his hunger strike despite the assault. Ben Barrett has been jailed since 2023 and is serving an 18-year sentence for conspiring to overthrow President Kais Saied. Charges, he says, were fabricated. His protest is part of a broader wave of hunger strikes by at least 5 jailed opposition leaders. Detained demanding their release, saying the charges against them are politically motivated. Rights groups have repeatedly accused Saied's government of using the judiciary to silence dissent. He says the judiciary is independent. Saied seized most powers in 2021 and later began ruling by decree in what the opposition has described as a coup. Former Finance Minister Mwigulu Nchemba is set to become Tanzania's new Prime Minister after being nominated by President Samia.
In Ukraine after Germany saw an influx of young Ukrainian men. It comes as the IDF's conduct is under new scrutiny, with reports that the U.S. received intelligence months ago that Israeli forces were using Palestinians as human shields. Of remembrance and resistance as Paris marks 10 years since the November 13th attacks that killed 132 people. After commemorations at the targeted sites, including the Bataclan Concert Hall, a new memorial garden was inaugurated in the heart of the city. Good to have you with us. Also coming up, we'll discuss the militarization of space with security studies lecturer Mark Hilborn. It comes after France inaugurated a new base command headquarters this week, with Emmanuel Macron warning of what he called the brutalization of space warfare.
DW News coming to you live from Berlin. Russia launches a massive attack on Kyiv. Missiles and drones strike multiple districts in the capital. One person is reported killed and over a dozen injured. Officials urge residents to remain in emergency shelters until the air raid alert is lifted. Palestinian-occupied West Bank live in fear as Israel plans to demolish more of their villages. Israel says they're illegal, but dozens of lawmakers in the U.S. disagree. They call on Israel's prime minister to halt the bulldozers. Plus,
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.